Have you ever looked up from your phone late at night and felt a sudden wave of anxiety? The videos stop, the distractions fade, and for a moment you're left alone with a question you keep trying to avoid. What am I doing with my life? You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. You'll get serious next week. You'll finally chase your goals when you're more motivated, more confident, or more prepared. But somehow tomorrow never arrives. Most people call this laziness. They tell you to be more disciplined or manage your time better. But for many men, the problem goes much deeper. It is not a lack of intelligence, talent, or ambition. It is a hidden psychological pattern that quietly resists adulthood itself. Psychologist Carl Jung described a personality pattern called the Puer Aeternus, meaning the eternal boy. Today we often call it Peter Pan syndrome, or simply the man-child. This doesn't mean someone is stupid or immature in every area of life. In fact, many men trapped in this pattern are creative, intelligent, and full of potential. That is exactly what makes the trap so dangerous. The eternal boy wants freedom, possibility, and unlimited options. He wants success without sacrifice and dreams without responsibility. He wants every door to remain open forever. The problem is that a meaningful life requires choosing a door and walking through it. Part 1. The Provisional Life. One of Jung's most powerful ideas is something called the provisional life. This is the feeling that your real life hasn't started yet. You treat everything as temporary. Your job is temporary. Your apartment is temporary. Your relationship is temporary. Your effort is temporary. You keep telling yourself that someday your real life will begin. Someday you'll find the perfect opportunity. Someday you'll become the person you're meant to be. But years pass. Many men spend decades preparing for a life they never actually live. They become experts at imagining, experts at planning, experts at waiting. The eternal boy often mistakes endless possibilities for freedom. Imagine standing in a hallway filled with doors. One leads to a career, one leads to a relationship, one leads to a business, one leads to personal growth. You know you must choose. But choosing one door means giving up the others. So you wait. You tell yourself you're keeping your options open. In reality, you're standing still. The tragedy is that potential feels safer than reality. In your imagination, you are exceptional. In reality, you are a beginner. In your imagination, success comes naturally. In reality, success demands effort, patience, and responsibility. The eternal boy falls in love with potential because potential never fails. A dream inside your head cannot be rejected. A goal you never pursue can never prove you wrong. That is why many men become trapped. Not because they lack ability, but because they fear reality. Reality asks something from you. It asks you to risk failure. It asks you to accept responsibility. It asks you to stop blaming circumstances and start owning your choices. That is both terrifying and liberating. Part 2. Where the pattern begins. To understand the man-child, we have to go back to childhood. Surprisingly, many men who struggle with responsibility today were talented children. They learned quickly. They were praised by teachers and parents. They were told they were special. At first this sounds wonderful, but hidden inside that praise can be a dangerous trap. When a child constantly hears that he is gifted, he may begin building his identity around being special. Instead of valuing effort, he values talent. Instead of valuing persistence, he values potential. Then adulthood arrives. The real world doesn't reward potential. It rewards results. Suddenly you're surrounded by people who are smarter, more disciplined, and more experienced than you. For the first time, you are not automatically special. That realization hurts. And the mind responds with a defense mechanism, procrastination. Most people think procrastination is laziness. Often, it is self-protection. If you never start the business, it cannot fail. If you never apply for the job, you cannot be rejected. If you never write the book, nobody can criticize it. As long as you never begin, your fantasy remains perfect. You can keep believing that success is guaranteed if you ever decide to try. The problem is that years can disappear this way. You keep saying, one day I'll start. One day, I'll get serious. One day, I'll show everyone what I'm capable of. But one day becomes 10 years. The ancient story of Icarus captures this perfectly. Icarus loved the idea of flying, but he ignored the discipline required to sustain flight. He flew too close to the sun and fell. The eternal boy often does the same thing. He loves grand visions, but avoids small responsibilities. He wants the mountain without the climb. He wants achievement without training. Eventually, a dangerous gap forms between fantasy and reality. And that gap creates 3 powerful traps. Part 3. The 3 traps. Trap 1. Escaping through stimulation. When life becomes uncomfortable, many men seek escape rather than solutions. Video games. Endless scrolling. Streaming platforms. Constant entertainment. For a moment, the anxiety disappears. The uncomfortable questions fade away. You don't have to think about your future, your finances, or your responsibilities. The distraction works like a painkiller. The problem is that painkillers do not cure the disease. Imagine a fire alarm going off in your house. Instead of looking for the fire, you put on headphones. The noise disappears, but the fire keeps burning. That is what excessive distraction does. It silences the warning signals without solving the underlying problem. One video becomes 10. One evening becomes another lost month. Slowly the life you wanted drifts further away. Trap 2. Fear of commitment. The eternal boy loves beginnings. New relationships. New goals. New business ideas. Beginnings are exciting because they contain unlimited possibility. But every meaningful thing eventually demands commitment. Relationships require effort. Careers require consistency. Dreams require sacrifice. When responsibility arrives, the eternal boy often retreats. Suddenly he notices flaws. Suddenly he feels trapped. Suddenly he convinces himself that something else would be better. Instead of building, he starts searching again. Another opportunity. Another dream. Another fresh start. The cycle repeats endlessly. He is not chasing fulfillment. He is chasing possibility. Trap 3. Victim mentality. This trap is dangerous because it often sounds reasonable. The economy is bad. Life is unfair. Other people have advantages. Sometimes those statements are true. Life is unfair. Some people do have advantages. But problems begin when facts become excuses. If every obstacle becomes proof that action is pointless, you stop trying. The moment you stop trying, you surrender control of your life. Adulthood begins when you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start taking ownership of what you can control. You may not control everything, but you always control your next action. Part 4. The way out. Recognizing these traps is not about guilt. It is about awareness. You cannot defeat an enemy you cannot see. The good news is that the path out is surprisingly practical. Step 1. Redefine adulthood. Many people see adulthood as a prison. They believe responsibility kills creativity and destroys freedom. The opposite is true. Responsibility protects dreams. A talented writer without discipline never finishes a book. A brilliant entrepreneur without responsibility never builds a company. Structure gives ideas a chance to survive reality. Freedom without responsibility creates chaos. Responsibility creates meaningful freedom. The mature man understands that commitment is not a chain, it is a foundation. Step 2. Respect ordinary life. Many man-children secretly believe they are destined for something extraordinary. The problem isn't ambition. The problem is believing ordinary responsibilities are beneath you. Clean your room. Pay your bills. Show up on time. Keep your promises. Take care of your health. These actions seem small, but they build reliability. And reliability is one of the foundations of maturity. Extraordinary lives are built through ordinary habits repeated consistently. Greatness is rarely dramatic. Most of the time it looks boring. It looks like doing what needs to be done even when nobody is watching. Step 3. Make failure your teacher. At the core of the eternal boy is a fear of failure. He fears discovering he isn't as capable as he imagined. So he avoids situations where failure is possible. But avoiding failure also means avoiding growth. Confidence is not built through imagining success. Confidence is built through surviving failure. Apply for the job. Launch the project. Learn the skill. Ask for feedback. You will make mistakes. Everyone does. The difference is that successful people allow failure to educate them instead of define them. Every rejection teaches something. Every mistake teaches something. Every setback teaches something. Failure rarely destroys people. Avoidance does. The mature man is not fearless. He simply acts despite fear. Step 4. Build accountability. One of the biggest mistakes people make is relying entirely on motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Some days you feel unstoppable. Other days you feel exhausted. That is why mature people build systems. Find a mentor. Join a disciplined community. Work with a coach. Surround yourself with people who expect more from you. Accountability keeps you grounded in reality. It becomes much harder to make excuses when others can see them. Over time, external accountability becomes internal responsibility. And that is where lasting change begins. Conclusion. Here is the truth many people spend years avoiding. Nobody is coming to rescue you. There is no magical breakthrough waiting around the corner. No perfect moment. No sudden transformation. Real change is quieter than that. It happens when you choose action over excuses. Again and again. Day after day. Year after year. The mature man is built through thousands of small decisions. He keeps promises. He accepts responsibility. He faces discomfort. He acts despite uncertainty. Eventually, something remarkable happens. He stops identifying as someone with potential. He becomes someone who acts. And that changes everything. Because the greatest tragedy is not failure. The greatest tragedy is reaching the end of your life and realizing you spent more time imagining than living. Years from now, you will either look back and see the moment you finally stepped forward, or another moment when you continued waiting. The choice belongs to you. Life is already happening. The clock is already moving. So stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for certainty. Stop waiting to feel ready. Very few people ever feel ready. Maturity begins the moment you act anyway. The world does not need more people full of potential. It needs people willing to turn potential into reality. Because in the end, the difference between the eternal boy and the mature man is simple. One keeps waiting for life to begin. The other realizes it already has.